Welcome back to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm Jack. This is
MT.
We have a lot to unpack today. Let me get myself together real quick. Before we get started, though, how you feeling today?
I'm a little under the weather, but I've survived.
Oh man, you should have told me that like an hour ago.
I've been dealing with these snot factories of kids nowadays, and they.
I'd have brought my spray. Wait, I might need to.
No, I think I'm kind of not contagious anymore because I'm recovering.
I'm just messing around, man. I got a pretty good immune system. But yeah, so we got a lot to get into. NBA basketball is going on. Playoff basketball, to be more specific. We got the NFL schedule release just came out a couple days ago. So we'll unpack that a little bit, get into that. But where you want to start, man? We got Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals and Indiana sitting in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I like Indiana and the Knicks to be at least a 6-game series at least.
So you don't think the Celtics got enough to pull off the 2 games?
No, they not only have they lost Jason Tatum, but I think it'd be a nice narrative. But if they won this and get to the finals, there's not enough left in their tank.
I agree, and I also don't think the NBA would want to push Boston without their star.
Nah.
Like if they could go and actually win a championship without their star, I don't think that'd be the best thing for the ratings.
So bad narrative.
And I also think that just like we talked about on Monday, the NBA is better when the Knicks are relative or relevant in this atmosphere. So. I guess that answers the question. One of the questions I was going to ask, do you think the Celtics got enough to, pull off the 2 games and upset? Me personally, I don't think so, because even if Jason Tatum didn't get hurt, they were down 9 points with 3 minutes to go. And I feel like they were going to lose that game. So I don't think the Jason Tatum injury plays that big of a factor.
They were going to lose that game anyway.
Now, where it does have really meaningful impact is next season because he's going to be gone. So the next time he comes back, what is many trade options for Giannis when we talk Monday? Because there's only so many teams that can. So going back to the whole it's rigged thing, I do think there's a some sense of the shit is rigged. There's some, rigging, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as David Stern sitting down with, or Adam Silver, sitting down and being like, hey, so we need Luka in LA. We'll give you the number 1 pick. You like Cooper Flag? I don't think it's that cut and dry. And the reason that I don't think it's that cut and dry is because look at everything Dallas did towards the end of the year, like egotistically, to try to prove why that trade made sense. They brought Anthony Davis back too early. When Anthony Davis got hurt again, they ran the shit out of Kyrie. Kyrie gets hurt. He's gone for nearly half the season next year. We don't know when he's coming back. So they were doing all of these things to try to make a push to get into the playoffs, made the play-in, was being competitive in that play-in game before they ultimately lost. But even in that game, Anthony Davis had 40 points. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that it was from lack of trying. So now, do you say that to make it be like it can't be obvious? You know what I mean? But so I have a
I saw
screenshot in my phone here.
I saw some rantings on the internet where a lot of the fans were like, this stuff is rigged.
Because it's hard not to say that with, everything that's going on. Okay, so real quick. 2011, Chris Paul got traded to L.A. New Orleans got the number 1 pick, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis got traded to the L.A. Lakers, 2019. New Orleans got the number 1 pick, Zion Williamson. I feel like I've seen that. Luka gets traded from Dallas. Dallas gets the number 1 pick. It's like, well, hold on, wait a minute. So is that like the formula to get the number 1 pick? You just got to trade your star? Like, you trade your star, you get the number 1 pick? Like, what's going on?
Number 1 for number 1, band for band.
That's definitely a pattern.
Band for band, let's go.
So on the one hand, I'm not judgmental either way that you want to lean. If you believe that it's rigged, I could, make an argument in a case for it. If you don't believe it's rigged, I can make an argument in a case for it. But the question that I pose is, if you were running $1 billion organization, would you leave it up to chance? Or as much that you could control, are you controlling it?
Pretty much. I mean, the way I look at it, the A in the NBA is the most important element. That's your business part, the association.
But you notice I always say the B in NBA is business. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Like, I also don't know how well Cooper Flagg fits in Dallas.
That was going to be my next question.
It's those things, those caveats and those nuances that you're just like, well, they got bounced in the first round. You don't want me to open up Pandora's box and talk about how they lost a couple of those games again. Well, we don't want to sit here and talk about this shit for 45 minutes. We got other stuff to talk about.
My thing is, though, the NBA has gone to extreme athleticism, and everybody's talking about they're highly skilled. I don't think they're as skilled as everybody says they are.
It is. Like, I agree with you from the athleticism standpoint, because the teams that are the best three-point shooting teams are the teams that are getting bounced.
Exactly.
Cleveland just went home. They were one of the best three-point shooting teams.
Boston might get bounced.
Boston is more than likely about to get bounced tonight. If they don't, I still have the confidence in the Knicks playing on the road, but you don't want to lose 2 in a row and then go on the road. You know what I mean? Like, especially with they're rallying around Jason Tatum and his injury, and, so selfishly, real quick, just brief little tangent, right? If you're Jason Tatum, you are 100% rooting for them to win this series, but do you really want them to win a chip without you there? Like, if you hit a point of you just sitting in the hospital, do you come to a point where you're just like, all right, guys, we could lose now?
If I'm Jason Tatum, personally, yes, because it don't matter what I do. Like, I've realized, like, no, Jason Tatum can't do shit low key.
He can't.
Like, when I saw niggas, and I get it, it was a big cringe, but when he was like, we did it, we did it, after winning the finals, it was like.
This we shit. That was Jaylen Brown.
Like, look, firsthand, as it's happening firsthand. So it gets to a point to where it's like, shit, they gon' damn if I do, damn if I don't. Shit, go get that chip. Like, to me personally. But,
I don't know.
But then again, management-wise.
I think human emotion kind of kicks in there, and it's just like, all right, guys, yeah. All right.
One for the Gipper.
But then, like
imagine if they get past the Knicks when you were struggling to beat the Knicks, and then they come back, complete the comeback, go to the Eastern Conference Finals, make it competitive, fuck around and beat Indiana. Then they end up in the finals again. And it's like you start sweating at a certain point, and the reason that I ask is because knowing that was the narrative that was coming out from last year. You didn't win the playoff MVP. You didn't win MVP, but you're paid as if you're the best person on the team. Like, you were in the conversation of, could you potentially be the best American in the NBA currently? They won a chip without you, and it's all because of the roster construction. They have the depth, and this was something that I noticed in that Knicks game. The ball flows more freely. You know what I mean? It's not centered around, shit, we got to give Jason Tatum, we got to get him a shot. It's been too because he goes missing on the court at times. It's just like, because Jaylen Brown, I feel like, is more of he got that dog in him a little bit more, where he's just like, when the moment gets the biggest, he's like, all right, I got it, guys. You know what I mean? But you're not supposed to be that. Like, I guess the dynamic works because Jason Tatum is more passive, but it's just like, he
don't have a dog in him. Simple as that. When I look at him, when I saw him squander that pass in Game 2, I think it was, when he jumps the pass, and I'm like, you're gonna make elementary mistakes. First thing they tell you when you leave your feet. Leave your feet to shoot. If you see a pass, that's your afterthought. You never leave your feet to pass. That's the first thing I've always been told. You don't jump the pass, because if somebody jumps that lane, you don't have a shot anymore.
Right. It's like a bailout thing. Like, with people understand, like back to the athleticism. Like, so let's going into a shot and you're defended more than you want to, and some guys they pass time, guys, and it's just like when it gets there, and it looks like a good pass. It's ESPN like real type shit. It doesn't. You look like you said, an elementary school player that's just.
What is he doing? Why is he jumping the past the ball?
Just the other night they won 127, 102.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tap in, score to where these guys, without their star player, are
dominating without the star
dominating.
player.
If I'm sitting in a hospital bed, it's like, oh shit, already. It's like here. No funny. So it's like at this point, y'all have already proven that the very next game that y'all don't need me, quote unquote.
Type shit.
So why now should I be in my feelings and be like, oh, don't win? So I might not get dollars or that $2 million. Nigga, you're set. Go get that chip.
All right. So I do have a question for y'all. OKC or Denver?
I got Denver. Me personally, I think Jokic is on a hot stretch, and when his team just forms and molds around him, they're like
damn near unstoppable.
They're unstoppable.
The problem is I know
which Denver are you
literally just a couple days I had Denver in the finals. I don't think they're gonna have enough in the tank to complete it. I don't think they're. Yeah, he looks tired already, and you got a whole nother series to go through before you get the finals.
And OKC has a big man who doesn't mind running.
Yes.
Now I do think like up against Minnesota, like Rudy Gobert kind of, Jokic will probably
come on now.
Yeah, he'll probably make light work out of him.
I get the rest. But he ain't finna shoot, so I get the rest on defense.
And here's the interesting thing, because I don't have any faith in Minnesota. I don't have
any faith in Minnesota or Miles Jokic in the finals.
Yeah.
The only I guess what I would say equalizing.
Don't put no disrespect on my Indianimals.
The only mitigating circumstances in that is that yes, but Jokic has to also guard Miles Turner.
And that is true as well.
Keep y'all in the perimeter so you ain't getting no rebound.
The funny thing?
That's
and if they cross match up, it's going to be too big for anybody else but Jokic.
I kind of think they have like overlapping skill sets because Miles Turner also gives the ability to have a perimeter player as well, and like you have to respect the fact that he can knock down a shot. I don't know, man. So if it does end up being Indiana and Denver in the finals, who do you think?
I think it'll be Indiana because they have pace, and Denver is tired.
They do play one of the highest paces in the NBA.
When I look at, I was watching Kevin Garnett on the podcast with Stephen A. Jackson, not Stephen A. Smith, that idiot. But anyway,
you do not like Stephen.
Come on, man. We trying to get sponsorship, man. We trying to get that ESPN, man. You fucking it up for us. Man.
And so Kevin Garnett said this unequivocally, and Paul Pierce co-signed it. He said most of these guys who were superstars in the league today wouldn't even make it in the 90s.
We ain't going there, man. We gonna leave your old nigga.
This is 90s, not my 80s. This is KG saying that.
Yeah,
this ain't still an old Byron nigga. Scott. This is KG.
Yep, that's cool. He's still an old nigga.
And what he said was,
don't like that argument.
Yeah, I don't either.
What he said was they lack the basketball IQ.
Now, I will agree with that.
The way they dribbling the ball. And
I do agree with that.
Yes, but then I was about to say that we were talking about it earlier, and then we could move on. When you take away certain things on defense these guys can't do. You can't do this as much. You can't be as physical. And we are still able to be faster guys. And back in the fuck 80s and 90s. It's like, and then we don't have that same, like, fluidity as you guys had.
What KG also said was they averaged almost as many points in the 80s and 90s as they do today. It was, and it's 110 today for their shots.
Hey, but guess what? You also have to bring back the narrative. They were adjusting the league rules to benefit offense in those times.
They were. After 2003,
they moved the 3-point line in. It went from 21 or 21.9 or something like that to like 19. They moved it in.
No, that was college. No.
As well.
The NBA was 24.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't quote me on the measurements exactly, but I do know that they moved the 3-point line in
seasons beginning in 1994, 1995, the NBA attempted to adjust the decrease, scoring by shortening the line from 23 feet and 9 inches to 22 feet. Yeah.
And now you're
considerable
finding
difference.
yourself kind of cater back towards defense now. Like, you can't just bait foul, or you can't just do all of these things that you could even 10 years ago. Like, the 2010s era, bad for that. James Harden, we just talked about him. Time I would want to fuck it. I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. I don't believe in this OKC team. If this OKC team won the championship, they would be the youngest team in NBA history to win the championship. So I have a question. Write down in the comment section if you think this current 2024-2025 OKC team would beat the OKC team, James Harden coming off the bench.
No,
That played the 2012 team, played LeBron in the finals.
I don't think so. 'Cause
Like,
they
you had Kevin Durant, you had Thabo Cephalosha, you had
Kendrick
Serge,
Perkins.
right? Kendrick Perkins, Serge Ibaka. Like, I kind of think that's a better version of what this team is trying to be, and they couldn't get it done. So, just my personal opinion. Let me know who you think the OKC teams, the 2012 team or the 2025 team. But to get into it, this NFL schedule release came out Wednesday. Got a lot of interesting matchups. So, you want to start with the Lions or the Bears? Which one you want to?
Let's
We ain't doing like record predictions or nothing. We'll get into that next
let's
week.
appease you.
You just kind of go through it. Okay.
Because I know you are chomping at the bit about this.
I mean, it don't matter to me either way.
I am too, man. It's that time of year. Anything, you'd be like, yeah, boy, yes.
No cap. All right. So, kicking off the regular season schedule, we got the Vikings week 1, Monday Night Football. That's a home game. We're at Detroit week 2, November 14th. I will be at that game. We got the Cowboys week 3 at home. We got the Raiders week 4.
They could be 3-1 by this when all is said and done.
I mean,
'Cause they're not gonna beat my Lions, but the rest of them are definitely.
we definitely beat. I have it. Little birdie. We running the table all this year, but we gotta see. We
Got
still
the
gotta
Urban
play
Wren.
the game.
Probably wasn't the Urban Wren, huh? It was probably
We got Vegas week 4. Then we got a bye. I'm not really too keen on having an early bye week. Yeah, I don't like the week 5 bye week. But I like the matchup coming off of the bye week. We at the Washington Commanders
That's gonna be
for
interesting.
week 6. Gonna be a night football game. On the road as well. We got the Saints week 7. We got the Baltimore Ravens week 8. That's on the road, and then followed up against the Cincinnati Bengals week 9, also on the road. We are at home against the Giants week 10. We got the Vikings week 11. We got the Steelers at the crib week 12. I know they're trying to push this fucking.
They could be 9-3. Isn't that something?
No.
If the Universal Lions itself, they could be 9-3 because they're not going to beat the Lions.
You said
They're
it's
not
gonna
going to beat
take
the
a lot.
Ravens.
Said
They
it's
may
gonna
or may
take a lot
not
to
beat
happen,
the
huh?
Vikings.
I think so. I'm gonna go through it. Then I'm gonna synopsis. I'm not gonna give my record prediction, but I'm definitely gonna talk about the first couple weeks. Because I don't remember where I left. Oh, the Steelers. Steelers. Week 12. We got the Black Friday game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's an L. Okay.
Yes, that might be more than likely. We got the Packers. And also,
50-50 with that one, too.
why when you play teams matter? Because you don't know what the roster looks like. You don't know if niggas going to be struggling. You don't know who's going to be hurt. You don't know what the shit going to look like. So last year, we thought we just had the easiest schedule because of the shit that happened the previous season. By the end of the season, we had the hard. So, that none of that shit matters. At this point, it's just everything is on paper. We got the Browns at the crib 15, followed by the Packers again 16 2 times in 3 weeks kind of just fucking sucks.
Wow.
We got the 49ers week 17, and then we close out against the Lions at the crib week 18.
I mean, I'm just this is just conjecture and I'm speculating. I see them having at least 7 losses this year.
So you got us at 10-7?
10-7.
That's about accurate, even though I didn't like. We still go through the games that I feel like this in here.
I was going to ask, what part are you concerned about, and what part do you feel comfortable as far as the?
We got a lot of away games in the middle of. Where that helps us is that we have home games to close the season. Four of our final, actually 3 of our final 4 games are being closed.
Yeah, the only one y'all got is out, and that's gonna be a good way. San Fran.
Like, other than that, I do like the fact that we get thrown into the fight. Night football, you get to go through everybody else that played Thursday, everybody that plays Sunday, and then you wait all day Monday to get to the game, and it's Ben Johnson's first coaching. What does it look like? Caleb Williams' first year under Ben Johnson's offense. Like, how does it look? I do like that we go to Detroit, because it's all about like the narrative. So they also like parody. Send them to Detroit early, home game,
Let's see where the season ends off at.
But the reason that I say I would prefer early, because we're gonna see each other at our strongest potentially and our weakest, because we play so early and so late. Like, just like we're still figuring shit out, you guys are shit. Like, you had a massive coaching overhaul, and it's like, well, how does it fit? How does the new system? How does it work? You got talent on the field. How does it work with coaching? Like, you got the culture in place. Like, how does it? Like I said, Ben Johnson aren't just being grown in labs. You know what I mean? And then on the opposite side of the equation, it's like with Ben Johnson, he's used to calling plays and doing that, but he talked about something that was subtle. I call the whistle. I blow the whistle to end the play. I've never done that. You know what I mean? So it's just like there's so many things that go into the head coaching position that he hasn't had to deal with. Now, where I believe we will be successful, or we have the blueprint or the infrastructure to be successful at the very least, is because he has a lot of experience in that coaching staff around him. Dennis Allen, as a defensive coordinator, has been a former head coach. You can learn a lot more from failure than you can for success. You sit down and have a conversation with somebody that did something and failed at it. Well, where are the areas that you feel like you could have improved in X, Y, Z? You got a high level of intensity from the running backs coach, Eric Bieniemy. He's been a coordinator.
He's been a coach a long time ago.
I definitely agree with you. Antoine Randall, they feel like he has head coaching position potential.
Yes, he does.
In the next few seasons, because he's more of like the CEO type. He's a player coach. The players just gravitate toward him. So Al Davis, the CB's coach, he could be a potential defensive coordinator. Had the Cowboys looking damn good with their defensive backs a couple seasons ago. So he has a lot of experience that he can draw on around him that I feel like can help us sustain some of those kooky moments. He also talked about we have a guy that
I think with Dan Campbell's mentality, they're okay with being hunted because they like, now you caught me. Is this really what you wanted? That's how I look at the Lions right now, because Dan Campbell has instilled a kind of a culture.
He definitely has the culture.
Like when I've seen a couple of wildlife animal thing where this stupid lion caught a hippo. He's like, now what do I do with this thing? It ain't running very fast, but now that I caught him, I don't even know which end to attack. So he's like, yeah. So I think the Lions kind of relish that role of like, yeah, you caught us, but this ain't what you really wanted now. And I think they learned a lot from the Washington Commanders debacle in the playoffs.
The crazy thing, I disagree. You know why I disagree? Because I believe the reason that you lost that game was two things. Just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree. I could be wrong. I don't give a shit. I feel like there was a glaring need that needed to be addressed on that defensive line that they just refused to do. And I also think that is the same sentiment that has been kind of followed this year. Like, you didn't do a whole lot in the offseason as far as player acquisition to help Aiden, and we don't know what Aiden is going to look like when he comes back.
True.
And just the fact that it's just like, okay, well, we got Aiden. We drafted this kid to play opposite side on, or not opposite, but to plug up the middle. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, Lord forbid unforeseen events play out in a similar fashion. You end up stuck in the same position. It's like you didn't really do a whole lot to negate that happening again. So I don't really think you learned the lesson because So I like Brad Holmes a lot. I think you guys may not agree. I think he's been the best GM in damn near all of football outside of maybe Brett Veach in Kansas City for the last couple seasons. Like the draft and this is coming from a Bears fan, and I fucking can't stand the Lions.
But
like you know for a fact.
But here's my position, though.
I don't like it, but
what are the chances of
I gotta
the Lions
be fair
incurring that many injuries again next year?
No. It's not the fact that it was so many. It was who got injured. It was the players that got injured. You know what I mean? So it doesn't take a million injuries to derail the season.
No, just
if key players get hurt. I mean, but this is football team. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't just, strictly for the Lions. So, but you look like the wheels are turning there.
I think we're in a weird position as a team because a lot of people don't expect us to be here. And so it would – how am I going to say this? I think it's okay. We're in a position where – it's just weird because we want to build guys up. We want homegrown guys. And then on top of all this winning, we get late picks anyway. And then you hear reports like, they denied it, but, Brad has come out and said this. Like, we tried to move up 30 times. We know what we want, and we know what we need.
And that's the brilliant thing about why I say I think Brad Holmes is one of the best GMs in football. Because he doesn't give a shit about what the draft analysts say. He doesn't care about the opinions of, the draft stock wasn't. If the motherfucker helps your football team,
if he can ball, he
who
can
ball. Right? Because I remember a couple seasons ago, everybody was talking about, why would they draft Jahmyr Gibbs there and such and blah, 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 blah. Well, if he works, no one is going to care in 3 years from now, like now, when Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs in football. It's like, about 10 spots too high. Like, who gives a shit? The tight end. They bitched about that. The linebacker, Jack.
Yeah.
They bitched about that. Well, he's an off-ball linebacker. We never pick off-ball linebackers that high. If he helps your football team, who gives a shit? That's what I respect. Now, where I have some pushback on Brad is the ego. Like, because he feels like he's the smartest nigga in the room, and sometimes that can kind of hinder your perspective and your point of to do. Like, there is nothing wrong with saying, like, okay, well, maybe they are right. Maybe we do with the defensive line. Maybe we do need another edge rusher. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you didn't do it. You know what I mean? But I'm looking at it as if your football team is like right now. This is what I would want to see happen if I were a Lions fan. Go get the nigga some help. Aiden is brilliant. Mostly when you see...
Who would you personally, if you were a Lions fan?
I would have personally brought Zadarius Smith back.
Now, supposedly, word on the streets is We're still in contact.
I was gonna say he's still available.
You know, he's
so
still available. It's just a matter of like his off season X, Y, and Z.
I understand that. The whole thing is unless you have like a backdoor agreement or something in place, you could sign and say like, hey, I'm a veteran, because players do it all the time. I'm a sign. I won't be there. Volunteer stuff when it's mandatory, I'm there. But until then, you know, I don't need to be there phase 1. I don't need phase 2. I was there last year. Yeah. So have this in place. You are left up to him getting poached because they're not going to be. He's between him and I think maybe you might only have one other high caliber or mid to high caliber impact edge rusher that's still left in free agency that you feel comfortable signing and plugging and playing. Pin your ears back. You know what I mean? So there are going to be other teams that are like help. There are other teams that get in the OTAs and the offensive line dominates the defensive line. It's just like we don't have enough. Or like what Philadelphia showed you last season, it's about keeping legs, so we rush the quarterback in waves. You're not subbing in your offensive lineman, but every other play, we got another defensive lineman coming into that rotation that's pushing the offensive lineman back. And we saw how that Super Bowl went. And the crazy actually predicted Philly going to the Super Bowl way earlier in the season when they made the Saquon Barkley. I'm like, bro, just in the Super Bowl, they're gonna run the piss out of the football. They're not going to be able to stop it. And I didn't want to see it happen.
But that was a no-brainer, though.
It kind of was, but we also kind of could have said the same thing with, you know, Baltimore picking Derrick Henry. So,
yeah.
But let me get into the rest of your games real quick. So, you know, you got Chicago week 2.
That's a W.
Coming to the crib. You got Baltimore Ravens week 3.
That's a litmus test game. If any of them I've ever seen, that's a litmus test game.
You got the Cleveland Browns week 4.
That's a W.
You got the Cincinnati Bengals week 5.
See, now that's iffy, but I still think we're going to beat them now.
You got the Kansas City Chiefs week 6.
They have been knocked off their perch a little bit.
You got your Achilles heel and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week 7. You got a week bye 8. You got a bye week 8. I wish they would have given us that fucking bye. I don't mind that. Kind of halfway through the year, you got 9 games left. Like week 5 is still having like 9 games left to play. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. But you got Minnesota week 9. You got the Commanders week 10. You got the Philadelphia Eagles week 11. You got the New York Giants week 12. You got the Green Bay Packers week 13. The Dallas Rams week 16, Vikings week 17, and then closing out against the good old Chicago Bears week 18.
See, what gets me actually concerned about this schedule is the back half towards holidays.
Mm-hmm. A lot of prime games, too.
That's a lot of prime. That's ripping and running, you know, and on top of it, holiday season. People want to be with their family.
Holiday season?
You got to turn around and play on. Like, that's a lot of ripping and running. So, from that bye week, going into the Eagles, the Giants might be low-key a closer game than what we might think.
You know, they might fuck around and be a sneaky, decent team.
I think that's one of those, like, trap games, if you want to call it.
I'm not – the only game on my schedule I have penciled in is I'm not going to call it W, but we bet not lose this, is that New Orleans Saints game. Because outside of that, like, you look at everything – these are still professional football teams. Like, people were looking at the Carolina Panthers like they weren't – you played them late season. It's like, oh, wait, they actually –
they fucking up our chance.
Yeah, to the playoffs. Like, that was a team, like, week 14, 15, 16, if you had real playoff implications, you didn't want to play that team because they didn't have shit to play for, but they were still playing.
They was having fun.
They were still playing. They understood, like, I may be auditioning for my next football team. You know what I mean? So you can't just completely write off no football team. Now, I say that about the New Orleans Saints because we don't know who the fuck their quarterback is going to be. And if it is Tyler Shuck, and we saw how he threw that ball when he was at his pro day, it's like, bro, you know what clip I'm talking
and
about?
You know what? I'm gonna be like, y'all should have drafted Shuck. I'm be like, that's exactly right.
He's looking good, man. He's looking good.
I was seeing that stuff on the internet. They like everybody on that's a QB. He's better than they are, and they said the only question mark would be whatchamacallit, and he's hurt. He is better than everybody on that squad as far as the practices and performances.
All right,
I'm like, wow.
real quick, what is the win total for the Detroit Lions this year?
I'm like,
I don't see us with any more than 3 losses, believe it or not. I really don't.
I'm in between because I think office for sure. I heard him talk about it. He was like, Johnson said, it is a Porsche. It is like that. He was being real. It's just a matter of me not trying to crash it. And of course, with his own terminology, him tweaking it his way. But we got the same players, same personnel. I think a lot of coaching, but a lot of these guys are like
from within the system.
Within family, like you hear some of these guys like, oh yeah, that's my best friend, man.
All right, so what? I feel like you finna get to 15 wins here.
Honestly, I don't know. Next week, I'd have a more definitive.
That's why I didn't want to I want to actually have some time to break it down.
I need to see the other teams. See what they got going. Not foresee go through that draft board again, and then
But just a rough estimate.
I'm going to hit the regression and win 11 games.
This is what I was asking a few months ago. That I guess it was just too early that I was just at all. But I'm like, the regression. You could win 13 games next year, and it's still a regression because you won 50 fucking games.
Yeah, technically.
So right now have Bears penciled in at. I have the floor at 8. I have the floor at 8 and 9. I got the maximum, just that I can see, at around 10, 11. And adversely, so I know, and this will probably change. This is why I want to get this on camera early before my energy changes, because I want to baby step it, right? I just want to. Can we have a winning fucking season? Can we just get to an end of a year and be over 500? That's just the start. Now I know 2 months from now I'm probably gonna be coming here talking about we're going to the Super Bowl, But anyway, now
the NFC North is still
rightfully so.
It's still gonna be a heck of a league, though.
No doubt.
It's not gonna be a cakewalk.
You know the crazy thing, because one of the teams that we're writing off, if JJ McCarthy actually can fucking play,
exactly.
Do you know the Vikings might be the best team?
I was like, damn, okay, Ty. I said, damn, JJ, Addison. I said, damn, and they got that. Oh, and they if they tight end can stay healthy from the line. I said, and if JJ, like you said, that was my exact thought. If JJ can just stay healthy and boy, how he was looking in the preseason last year, NFC is gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
I don't believe in the Packers. Jordan. I genuinely don't believe in the Packers.
I still think Jordan Love is still shouldering the burden of a Brett Favre.
Yeah, the Packers are
way too much. And I'm like to myself, you need to be a
game
manager.
I would love for the Packers to be the team that hold us back instead of us. I would sign up for that 100 times out of 100. So I got the Lions between 10 and 12 wins, the floor. And I think that part of the schedule is going to be fucking brutal.
Normal Achilles heels.
You play everybody.
Our normal Achilles heels to me, Tampa Bay and Baltimore, they don't really scare me anymore.
I can't.
I would down in the playoffs.
I'm just saying.
Commanders.
The Commanders are going to be a game they circle.
I'd be lying if I say Baltimore didn't scare me.
We were, in our original setup, but I remember sitting across. Boy, I don't fear anybody.
Well, I'm just saying.
All right.
I'm just saying that Pittsburgh doesn't scare me at all. They totally
just sat here and said still NFL teams,
of course
man.
They're
still world-class athletes, and they still.
So are we.
Yeah. Show you right.
I just don't. I don't
So you see you 14-3. What's the 3 losses?
To me, I'm really skeptical about perhaps. I'm skeptical about perhaps Baltimore, and I'm
Cincinnati, Kansas
skeptical
City,
about
Philly,
Cincinnati. I'm not skeptical.
Washington.
I think I would replace.
You got
Cincinnati
the Rams.
I would replace Cincinnati with the Rams.
I'm like, you got a lot of good
but
football
the
teams. A lot of good.
The Rams are going through a bit of a transition right here, though.
Shit, I think the Rams were a point away from potentially going to the NFC Championship game last year.
And I will
Like, they were in the game against Philly, and you saw what Philly did to Kansas City.
And Matthew Stafford is a year older.
He definitely, I mean, those are facts. Those are
By the
facts.
time, it's still undefeated.
But I will say, if anybody can get the most out of Matthew Stafford this late in his career,
It's
it'll
that
be
system.
Sean McVay.
Yeah.
They went out and got Devontae Adams, drafted more, pieces. They're more solid on the defensive line. They're going to be a good team next year. All right, so
To add on to MT's point, I do maybe football head me. Their run game takes a step back, which maybe puts more pressure on Matthew Stafford. And so maybe because they always go through these breaks where it's like, okay, yeah, we can write off the fuck. And so I'm like 50-50, and I just don't know how their run game will suffice as much personally. But they're still one.
they still got a solid. They still like if
just as far as like blocking wise,
I don't really write off any NFL team. I just
you
don't.
sure
I just don't having that many hiccups this year.
because you already writing off my Bears, which is
To me, those are rivalry games, and I don't know how Ben Johnson's going to react to rivalry games yet. So I'm still going to give you the benefit of any doubt until he proves me that kind of stuff.
I respect that.
That's
I
what I have
respect
to
that.
do.
I respect that. Real quick, because I literally got like 5 minutes before I got to get out of here, but I have to talk about it. Did you hear the shit that came out about Caleb Williams?
yes, and move me. It's not as low. If this happened last year, I'd like that.
I mean, it did happen last year.
If this would have came out,
right?
If
right,
this
right,
would have
right.
came out last year, this was something like we would have like. I would be like, okay, let me bring this to Ken on the podcast. But
So
now it's just kind of like
So for those that don't know,
it's whatever. Like personally,
Caleb Williams did not want to be a fucking Chicago Bear. He did not want to be.
nigga said play for the UF. Like what?
So we're gonna get into it. We gonna get into it briefly. Like this might be something we might expand on a little bit more Monday, but I had to mention it at least today for the podcast. So yeah, they were exploring different avenues. They definitely felt like Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die, and his dad was trying to expound on any option that they could to avoid him being drafted to Chicago, going as far as to say he would go play for a year
That's when it's too far.
so he could avoid the draft process at all, so he could just pick a team as a free agent.
Wow.
That was too far. Now, to get into it,
That kind of makes sense with his play there.
he actually had one of the best seasons that a rookie's had,
But he
especially
was
given the
still a
situation.
reluctant participant, though.
Give me a second. Let me unpack it all. Because he tried to change the entire draft process. Instead of just being drafted, he's just like, all right, now I'm a free agent next season. And I can choose the team I want to go to. Because the team he wanted to go to, Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings, all places.
The Minnesota fucking Vikings.
Wow.
He went in conversation with Kevin O'Connell, and he's like, he's brilliant. I mean, he also played with Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison was the USC, and like that was Caleb's Heisman year. So, respectfully so. Now, you could laugh at it. You could look at it like he wanted to go to a division rival. Like, all of these things are true, but he's not wrong. They're not wrong. I am a father, and if my son is playing football and, number one pick, just like we talked about with the NBA, if you are running $1 billion, do you leave it up to chance or do you control that shit? I'm just, so I respected it. And what matters, my personal opinion, is the here and now. Because, again, all of this came out in the pre-draft process. But he could, like, the gas was already poured. All they had to do was like the match.
Yeah, especially with how, like.
Because the last thing for them to do once they saw, like, the shit wasn't working, because Ryan Poles just basically sat him down and had a man-to-man conversation with him, and it's like, dude, we're drafting you. Like,
You ain't going nowhere, baby girl.
you're the pick. Like, you're the fucking pick. Like, so the last idea was to just like start a slander campaign in Chicago.
Wow.
Like, just, and it's just like Caleb didn't want to be viewed like that. And then, like, so it's two ways you can look at it. You could look at it like, yeah, this is the place where quarterbacks go to die, or you could look at it like, I could come here and be a fucking legend.
I think that's what gets me, is because we call a lot of places quarterbacks. Like, as a Lions fan, come on now. We call a lot of places in the NFL where quarterbacks go to die. And so I'm sorry that you are not on the Eagles team or a Kansas City, but I hate to break it to you, if you were drafted by one of those teams, you wouldn't start, buddy. You'd be sitting behind that quarterback one. And you would be quarterback two, no matter how good you are, because they have. And so the first thing that personally, I don't mind it. I don't care, especially in the time it comes out. I think this is actually, if anything, for it to come out now. I think my question would be, why is it okay when Caleb does it, but we're not Shedeur does it?
Yeah.
And so, like,
He's more talented. He's more talented.
but it's still just, yeah. I get that's the answer.
That's literally it. Like, you can, there's certain shit that you can. Also, he didn't do it. Like, he didn't go into the pre-draft process and like.
Shedeur has identical stats to what looks the same, whatever. Can you, just as far as that, does it still equal? Like, he's better. Like, that's what I'm saying. Just as far as,
but Shedeur was doing that was intentionally, like, Caleb didn't go to the football team and just say fuck the interview because I don't want to play here. Even though Caleb knew, like, I'm not gonna be playing here, he still respectfully went through the process. Shedeur was just like, bitch, I'm Shedeur. Fuck you. What I gotta do that for?
He tanked a lot of interviews.
Did you study the install we sent you last night?
Nigga,
What I'm gonna
no.
do that for?
y'all are the fucking
He
Brown.
tried. Shedeur misplayed his hand. Played his hand like he was his father without his father's talent.
Yep.
I agree. I just think it's louder, especially when someone like Deion's son does it.
Yeah, of course.
And so I think they aren't taking that into as much as well, compared to, like, oh yeah, he's just not talented. And that's
But
what we just talked about, too.
also, I will say, because it's the fathers. Carl Williams was the one that was put there. He doesn't have the power that a Deion has. So, like, so it's kind of an inverse order where you got a powerful dad, not so talented quarterback son, versus not so powerful dad but a insane. Like I wouldn't say that Shedeur's talent. Like, I drafted him in the first round.
I laid a second.
I don't think, but
yeah.
if you take him and you put him in last year's draft.
Yeah, and that's not my point. Is like, oh, he should number.
No, it's
But
just like
when you look at the Saints and how, like, who the fuck is throwing the ball for the Saints?
so ego is into play. That's where the ego thing comes into play.
Wow.
Like, I would much rather deal with somebody I can mold into the player I
That
want
is
them
true
to
as well.
be
That is true as
than deal with the ego of them
Who
being
don't
the
even wanna be
player
here.
that they're really not.
And then I'll be gone in 3 years, and you may not even have a spot. You right?
Yeah,
You
bro,
right.
I ain't got time to deal with that.
You right.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where I think they misdealt the cards. They didn't have an agent. And I think, like, with Deion's power, they weren't really what the narrative about Shedeur was. Because I guarantee, as great a brother as Deion is, if somebody comes out and tells him, like, hey, man, this is what's being said about you, they're trying to pivot and change that image of, that process. Whereas if no one comes out, when you're, like, so powerful that everybody has to, like, yes man and lie, you get lied to. And that's the problem. Everybody was sitting there lying to them, until they got in the meetings with the people who actually
wasn't
didn't give a
lying.
fuck, you know. And it's just like piss them off. It's just like the analogy I talked about a week or a couple weeks ago. Like if you cuss out somebody at a line at McDonald's and you're on your way to a interview and the person that you're interviewing or is interviewing you is the person you just cussed out in the McDonald's drive-thru or the line, what are the likelihood that you're gonna get that job? You know what I mean? So even if you like, bro, that's not gonna be an enjoyable job. I'm just saying. But anyway, you got any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I do not.
Who won in the finals? Just say it. Who won in the finals?
The Indianimals, man.
Indiana will probably do
Y'all
it.
really got the fucking Pacers winning
Bro,
the
I'm telling-
finals.
If they beat
you,
the Knicks, if
it's-
they beat the Knicks, nobody else can stop them.
It's the Milwaukee Bucks
You
championship,
know what?
bro.
I will give you that. If they can stop Cat and beat the Knicks at the same time, I'll give you that.
It's the
I give you that.
Milwaukee Bucks one-off, bro. I feel like it's one of those years. Like,
Cat
and the animals.
ain't gonna
And-
overpower anybody.
and
ain't.
we talked about earlier this season that they have a market problem and they need to reframe the small markets that they're pushing. Like, and it's an easy fix. Like, put the fucking put the Indiana Pacers on Prime TV. You know what I mean? Put the Knicks on Prime TV. Put OKC on Prime so you could push the stars of tomorrow instead of just trying to force feed us. And I love LeBron and Curry, but you know, we've watched these niggas for 20 years.
I mean,
Niggas say
Denver,
we can do it
Denver is
ourselves.
not
We'll get in the
exactly a
spotlight.
humongous market either. though.
I'm saying
They're
though.
all small
So that's what
markets.
I'm saying. Like you're watching the parity of the league right now with small market teams winning, and I think you know.
I mean, not only small market, but Indiana is a college basketball place, not pros.
Fuck the
Denver
Hoosiers.
is a football place. OKC is college football.
Fuck the Hoosiers. But anyway, we finna get out of here, man. I'm Jack. This is
MT.
Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. If you like the content, we go live at least once, maybe twice a week. We'll be back next week with another video for y'all. So you fuck with the content here, man. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. It definitely helps us. Other than that, we appreciate everybody for tapping in and supporting us along the way. And it's been real, man. Bear down.
Deuces. That was kind of informative. Not.